There are mornings when the air feels different, when the sunlight falls softer, as if the world is quietly rearranging itself. It's the hush after a storm, when broken branches still litter the ground, but the sky has opened in a brilliant blue. It's the first green sprout pushing through the blackened soil after a wildfire. Somewhere deep inside, you sense it. You're standing at the threshold of something new, even if you can't yet name it. There comes a moment when the life you once knew feels like an old skin you can no longer wear. The conversations, the places, the roles, they've grown tight and unfamiliar. And while part of you grieves their passing, another part whispers, "It's time." Carl Jung understood this space well. He saw that what we call loss, chaos, or uncertainty is often the psyche's way of initiating us into a new chapter, a symbolic death before rebirth. But the signs the universe is giving you a fresh start aren't always loud. Sometimes they arrive like a feather brushing your shoulder, like a pattern you notice too many times to ignore, or like a restless feeling that won't leave. In Jung's psychology, this moment is part of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming who you truly are beneath the layers of expectation, habit, and fear. A fresh start is not only about changing your circumstances, it is about the deeper, quieter work of aligning with your most authentic self. Jung saw that the self, the central guiding force of the psyche, often calls us forward by first dismantling what no longer serves us. The ending of a relationship, the loss of a job, the fading of an old dream. These may seem like misfortunes on the surface, yet symbolically, they are the clearing of space for what is meant to arrive. When we speak of the universe in this context, it is not an external hand moving pieces on a board, but rather a symbolic field of meaning that expresses itself through synchronicity, archetypal patterns, and the subtle pull of the soul toward wholeness. And here lies the paradox. The very disruptions we resist may be the messengers of our renewal. What looks like collapse may, in truth, be the scaffolding of a new life taking shape. In the next moments, we will step into the 4 signs that the universe and your own psyche are preparing you for a beginning you may not yet imagine. Sign number 1, the gentle collapse of the old self. It begins quietly, almost imperceptibly. One day, the things that once defined you, your job title, your routines, the familiar circles you've moved in, start to feel like clothes you've outgrown. They still fit in theory, but wearing them feels wrong, constricting, false. You go through the motions, but something in you is no longer in sync with the life you've built. This is not laziness or sudden carelessness. It's the psyche beginning to loosen its grip on an identity that has run its course. Carl Jung often spoke of the archetype of death and rebirth, the deep psychological process where the old self dissolves so the truer self can emerge. It's not a clean or easy process. Sometimes it feels like you're unraveling. You may catch yourself wondering why certain friendships now feel shallow, why the career you once pursued with passion feels empty, why the habits you relied on no longer bring comfort. The truth is, your inner world is shifting ahead of your outer one. This is the gentle collapse, the psyche's way of making space for what comes next. Imagine someone who has spent decades building a career, convinced it was their life's purpose, only to wake up one morning feeling no connection to it. They still show up to the office, still meet deadlines, but each day feels like an act. At first they blame themselves, but slowly they begin to understand. This detachment is not a failure, it's a release. The ego resists fiercely here. It will tell you to cling to what you know, to avoid uncertainty, to keep the life you've already built because it is safe. But safe is not the same as alive. Jung understood that the psyche dismantles what is no longer aligned, not to punish us, but to make room for the self, the deeper, authentic essence that seeks to live through us. The collapse may come with grief, confusion, or fear. It's hard to watch the scaffolding of your identity come down. Yet if you look closely, you'll see that what's falling away is not your essence, but the structures that kept it hidden. The gentle collapse is not the end of you. It is the end of the chapter where you lived in a smaller version of yourself. What's left is the open space for what's next. Sign number 2. Synchronicities pointing to a new path. Synchronicity, as Carl Jung described, is when events are linked not by cause and effect, but by a deeper thread of meaning, moments that seem to arrive with perfect timing, as if the world itself is whispering to you. These signs often emerge when you're standing at the threshold of change, nudging you toward a new direction you may not yet fully see. They might appear as an unexpected encounter with someone who speaks directly to the struggle you've been silently carrying, or as the sudden repetition of a symbol, a word, a song, an image that feels charged with significance. They can take the form of an opportunity that lands in your lap at the precise moment you're questioning what's next. To the rational mind, these are coincidences. To the attuned soul, they are breadcrumbs left along the path to your next chapter. Imagine someone navigating the fog of heartbreak, feeling adrift and unsure of who they are without the person they once loved. In a single week, they stumble upon a book about reclaiming self-worth, overhear a stranger speaking about starting over, and notice a painting in a cafe titled "Becoming Whole." None of these events cause the others, yet together they weave a quiet tapestry of guidance. Jung saw synchronicities as evidence of the psyche's deep connection to the collective unconscious, a reminder that our inner world and outer world are not separate, but reflections of each other. Yet here lies the shadow tension. The ego often dismisses these moments, clinging to logic or fear, telling itself that nothing meaningful could possibly be unfolding. In doing so, we prolong cycles that have already reached their natural end, ignoring the subtle invitations to step into something new. The truth is, the universe rarely shouts. It speaks in patterns, in threads you must choose to follow. And each time you acknowledge a synchronicity, you strengthen your connection to that quiet guiding current. Sometimes those patterns don't make sense until much later, when you realize they form the map you didn't know you were following. The universe speaks in patterns. The question is, are you listening? Sign number 3, the emotional pull toward the unknown. It starts as a low hum in the background of your days. You can be going about your life exactly as you've always done. Same job, same routines, same familiar conversations, and yet something feels incomplete. There's a quiet ache that sits in your chest, whispering that there's more out there for you, even though you can't quite name what more means. It's not dissatisfaction in the ordinary sense. It's deeper, stranger, almost like homesickness for a place you've never been. Carl Jung would call this the call to adventure, the stirring of the archetypal journey toward transformation. It's the psyche's way of alerting you that the life you've been living, however comfortable, is no longer large enough for the person you are becoming. Imagine someone with a seemingly perfect life on paper, a stable career, a loving partner, a home that looks like it's straight out of a magazine. And yet, every time they pass an art studio on their way to work, they feel a pang. They catch themselves scrolling through websites about moving abroad. They find themselves daydreaming about living by the sea, even though they've never seriously considered leaving their city. On the surface, nothing is wrong, but deep down, everything feels ready to shift. This is where the ego begins to panic. The ego loves safety, familiarity, and predictability. It will tell you that stepping into the unknown is reckless, that you should be grateful for what you have, that longing for more is indulgent or dangerous. But this longing is not a whim. It's the self calling you forward, a deeper part of you that already knows where you're meant to go, even if your conscious mind can't yet see the full picture. The emotional pull toward the unknown can be unsettling. It can feel like you're betraying your current life or risking stability for something undefined. But the truth is, this pull is not random. It's the soul's compass turning toward true north. If you've been feeling that subtle yet persistent restlessness, it's worth listening. Not because you have to uproot everything overnight, but because ignoring it means staying in a life that is slowly shrinking around you. Sometimes the unknown is not a threat, it's an invitation. Sign number 4, inner peace amid outer uncertainty. There's a strange kind of calm that can arrive right when you'd expect to feel the most shaken. It's the paradox of standing in the middle of uncertainty, job loss, a sudden breakup, an unexpected move, and realizing that instead of collapsing, you feel lighter, as though something heavy has been set down. Carl Jung might say this is the work of the transcendent function, the psyche's way of holding two opposing truths at once, the chaos of the outer world and the harmony of the inner one. When we reach this place, it's not because we've numbed ourselves or turned away from reality. It's because something deep within has shifted. The usual grip of fear loosens, and in its place, there's a quiet trust, an inner voice that says, "This is where you're meant to be." Imagine someone who has spent years in a job that drains them, tied to stability, out of fear of what lies beyond. Then, without warning, the job ends. Logically, panic should set in, but instead they feel relief. The spreadsheets and deadlines are gone, but so is the daily dread. It's as though their soul knew this change was overdue and has been waiting for them to catch up. This inner steadiness doesn't come from certainty about the future. It comes from alignment. When the conscious mind and the deeper self are moving in the same direction, even the unknown feels strangely safe. Jung believed that such moments are signs of integration, when we stop fighting what life is asking of us and begin to walk alongside it. This kind of peace isn't about knowing every step ahead. It's about sensing, at a level beyond logic, that the path is right. You may not yet see where it leads, but something in you recognizes the terrain. It's the calm of a sailor who, after weeks lost at sea, suddenly feels the wind shift in a way that promises land is near. Outer uncertainty will always be part of life, but when you meet it with inner stillness, you're not being passive, you're listening. You're trusting that the ground forming under your feet is the beginning of something new. And in that quiet, your soul whispers, "This is your fresh start." Fresh starts rarely arrive with trumpets. They often seep in like dawn, soft, gradual, and almost imperceptible until you notice the light touching everything. One day, you simply wake to a quiet knowing. The air feels lighter, the heaviness you've carried has shifted, and something in you is leaning toward the horizon. This is where the signs we've explored converge, the gentle dismantling of the old, the trail of synchronicities guiding your steps, the magnetic pull toward an unnamed future, and the calm that blooms in the midst of uncertainty. The work now is to respond not with haste, but with presence. Let the structures that no longer serve you collapse without rushing to rebuild. Follow the subtle signs, even if they lead into uncharted terrain. Trust the restlessness. It is the compass of your deeper self. And when peace comes, protect it like a flame. Engage consciously with the transition. Journal the dreams that arrive at night, note the patterns that appear in your days, and practice stillness until you can hear the whisper beneath the noise. Remember, a fresh start is not an escape from who you were. It is the integration of everything you have learned, distilled into a life more aligned with who you are becoming. The sun does not rush to rise, yet it transforms the world with quiet certainty. Perhaps the same is already unfolding within you. The signs of a fresh start may already be here, hidden in the way your old life feels too small, in the way your heart quickens for a future you cannot yet describe. There is a choice waiting at this threshold. When the old skin begins to fall away, will you cling to it or step into the new light the universe has prepared for you? This is Echoes of Psyche, where we explore the language of the soul and the symbols that guide its journey.